Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video here on iStarly TV. And Eevee Grove is now live in TCG Pocket, so you can now open Eevee Grove packs. And I'm doing my usual series where I make a video about, new decks to play with the new cards once we know the full set. So we do know the full set now. But I'm going to try things a little differently this time. Instead of doing one video where I showcase 3 new decks to try, I'm going to try to break them up into their own individual videos and see how that goes. It allows me to spend a little bit more time kind of going in depth with card choices and stuff like that. I don't plan, this is just more of a deck guide video, so I might not play games with the deck. And in fact, as you can see, or as you can guess, I actually don't own all the cards. I'm missing one more copy of Primarina EX in order to make the deck, but I think this is still a good way to showcase a new deck and generate some discussion. And of course, I'm happy and open to anyone leaving comments about how to make this deck better or things that they've tried or whatever the case regarding this deck. So if you have suggestions for other decks, let me know, but I do have a couple other ideas of unique or interesting decks, and my goal is always to feature decks that seem strong, and sometimes there are decks that seem like they could be meta, but also I like to focus on things that not a lot of people are talking about or not a lot of people are aware of. Now, with Primarina EX, I assume most people are happy with this card, or a lot of people are, because we finally have the third Alolan starter EX, and Primarina EX, it's a new card from this new set, 180 HP, which is absolutely massive. It has Hydro Pump, which does 40 damage for just 1 energy, which is really strong. Typically, Pokemon, especially EXs, they do, for 1 energy, they might do like 30. I'm thinking of Incineroar EX, I'm thinking of Palkia EX, just for example. But this has the added bonus of when it has 1 extra energy on it, it does 40 more damage. So for 1 energy, this does 40. For 2 energy, it does 80. And then its second attack is Sparkling Aria. For 3 energy, it does 100, and it heals 20 damage from itself. So this is really great because it kind of just like works on curve. Like at any point in the game, however many energy you have on it, it's going to be able to do something. And I think that's really strong. Like it bridges the gap really, really nicely between 1 and 3 energy. Now 100 damage might not be that much, but given that it also heals itself, and we have the new supporter card How, which boosts the damage of Primarina EX by 30, this is a really strong Pokemon. So the goal with this deck is just to have a Primarina that just lives forever, never dies. You're always doing decent damage. You might not be doing that much damage like amount wise, but you're able to just sustain yourself for days and heal off anything that the enemy is doing to you. As far as the rest of the deck, this should be a second copy of Primarina EX. It is possible you play 2 copies of Primarina EX as well as 1 copy of this Primarina, because this also works really nicely with all of your other Primarinas because it can heal them for 30. And it could be a situation where maybe you just really want to make sure you evolve your Popplios. You just want to really increase the odds that you're evolving your Pokemon into the stage 2 with the rare candy. So maybe you can benefit from playing, 2 Primarina EX and 1 non-EX if you want. And then of course we have Brionne. There is a new Brionne, however you say it. Let's kind of pull that up actually. That's a good reason why, or that's another reason why it's good that I'm focusing on just one deck here, because it means that I can kind of spend more time going into depth for the card choices and everything like that. But let's kind of pull up the Popplio evolution line from the set where they first came out, which was Celestial Guardians. Oops. So there are 3 Popplios and 2 Brionnes now in the game. There's this Popplio for 60 HP. For 1 energy, it puts your enemy Pokemon to sleep, but it does 0 damage. I think this is just too... I don't think this is good, honestly. I think the other 2 Popplios are better. The one that I've chosen is this one, 60 HP, 20 damage for 1 energy. Pretty consistent. It kind of puts some damage on early game. You can do 20 with it turn 1, and then, or I guess turn 2, whatever the case. And then when you evolve it, you can do 80. If you rare candy it into Primarina EX, you can already do 80. So 20 plus 80 is 100, which 100 damage almost out of nowhere is a lot. So I think that's a really good curve. And if you just evolve it into Brionne, that's also not too bad. The other new Poplio is 70 HP, and it does 30 damage for 2 energy. So obviously the biggest benefit to this one is it has 70 HP, which means it's going to survive a lot more attacks early game. But if you saw my Incineroar EX deck video, you'll know that the way I feel about these cards is like, it just feels like it takes a little bit too long to set up. I would rather just do 20 damage with 1 energy early on and just kind of do some chip damage than kind of set up. But, you know, if you feel like the 70 HP is worth it for you, you know, 70 HP might not seem like a lot, and it's only 10 extra HP, but honestly, that can make a big difference. And then the second Brionne, the new Brionne, it has 90 HP, which is more than the other, and it does 40 damage for 2 energy. Again, if you want that extra boost in energy, this is not bad. It's up to you. You could run 2 Brionne if you just really want to make sure that your deck is consistent and you're always evolving. That can work. But I just feel like just using the Primarina line is pretty good. As far as other Pokemon you can play in the deck, I mean, there's a lot of options. I would say, in my opinion, I like to, if I'm going to be focusing on a stage 2 Pokemon like Primarina, I would try to personally just, if I'm going to add a different Pokemon, just add a basic. So if you want to go full on EXs, you could go Palkia EX, you could go Articuno EX, even though that one's kind of old. You could go Pyukumuku, which is an interesting one, which can rack up a lot of damage while you set up your Primarina, but Primarina really just doesn't require setup. Like I said, you can attack for 40 damage with 1 energy, 80 damage with 2, and then 100 for 3. So again, it doesn't require setup. It's just kind of like you're always able to do something with Primarina. So I don't know that you really need a Pokemon to help Primarina set up. And then the rest of the deck is 2 rare candy, you know, self-explanatory, 1 copy of Pokeball because we only have 2 basics in our deck, 1 giant cape because that's all we could fit, but of course cape is nice with Primarina because it gets you to 200 HP, which is going to survive almost everything in the game, keyword almost. And then you've got double research, unsurprising, double Misty, also unsurprising. We have double Irida, also unsurprising, double How, double Lily, and Pokemon Center Lady. So this is just a ton of healing. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you think a potion could fit, if you think a Malasada could fit, if you think Guzma. I think Guzma's one card that I thought about that could definitely benefit the deck as well. There's a lot of options, but the goal with the deck is to set up Primarina, just rack up damage over the course of the turns while consistently healing it and just staying alive for days. Your big weakness is electric decks, but again, even that massive HP stat means you're gonna survive attacks from a lot of the more common electric Pokemon. The hardest hitting electric Pokemon is what, Magnezone, which, how much does Magnezone do again? Is it 110, I think, right? You're obviously surviving that. You're surviving Tapu Koko EX. I mean, yeah, like the strongest electric Pokemon. Electric's not really in a great spot right now. I guess if you're running against, I guess Oricorio is your worst nightmare here, your absolute worst nightmare. So you might want to, I guess that's one reason why you would want to try something else, a different Pokemon, or run Rocky Helmet or Poison Barb perhaps. But aside from that, like, I don't know how common Oricorio will be. It might be common, we'll see. So keep that in mind. If you're worried about Oricorio, you're definitely going to want an extra Pokemon in the deck. But I think this deck has a lot of potential, and I'm excited to try it out, especially once I open that second copy of Primarina EX. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy that we got a new EX card for the Alolan starters, and how, of course, just really helps just push in that damage. Doing 130 with Sparkling Aria is great because that is a kind of important breakpoint in the meta, like especially once you've done a little bit of chip damage to like Giratina or something. Doing 130 can oftentimes just knock it out from there. So let me know in the comments what you think about this deck. How excited are you to try it for yourself? And of course, how would you make it better? If you want to run an anti-Oricorio Pokemon in this deck, who would that be? Let me know in the comments. Have a great day. Talk to you next time.